Welcome to Android Authority on Air, the original Android Hangout show on Google+. This is episode 52, and I'm Derek Ross.
And I'm Scott Anderson.
I'm Dan Charlton.
I'm Jonathan Franklin.
And we are joined by Android Authority guest this week, Christopher Wook, a.k.a. Wookie, and Nate Swanner. Nate, Chris, Wookie, thanks for coming, guys.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.
Week, at episode 52, as you know, there's 52 weeks in a year. So you do the math, you add some stuff together, you come up with 1 year. So we have been around now for a year. I can't believe it. We started out a year ago talking about Mobile World Congress. Mobile World Congress is afoot again. And we're not going to really talk about a whole bunch of Mobile World Congress stuff this week, but next week we will. We have some other awesome stuff lined up for you this week. We're going to have a giveaway. We've partnered with Cruiser Lite to give away 10 different $15 gift cards, and throughout the show we're going to plug that URL in. So if you're watching live, you're going to have a chance to win some of those gift cards from Cruiser Lite. If you're listening or watching on YouTube after the show has been recorded and published and everything, you still have a chance to win. Don't worry. We are going to end the contest Sunday evening at 8 p.m., so you're going to have all the rest of tonight, tomorrow night, next night, and as I said, it's going to be all weekends. And Sunday night we're going to run the Rafflecopter, and we're going to choose our 10 winners of the $15 Cruiser Lite gift cards. More details on that throughout the show, so keep listening, keep watching, and we'll give you that special secret URL in a little bit. So this week, we have a few big topics to talk about. Right now, all the rage today is Chromebook Pixel, so we're going to hit that up. And then we're going to talk about Ubuntu Touch, because that's pretty darn popular today, too. Earlier in the week, HTC One was announced, and Android Authority was at the event. Our own Christopher Wook was there. He's going to talk all about that, let us know how awesome the device is not. We're going to talk about some Dash Clock stuff, because that app is hot. I love that app. And then Dan is going to do what Dan does best, and he's going to talk about processors, because Dan knows about processors. He's a retired kernel developer. All right, so Scott, let's get started. Let's talk about some Chromebook Pixel stuff.
All right, so Chromebook Pixel and kind of the next generation of Chrome OS and new hardware. Announced today, the Wi-Fi only version is $1,299, and the one with LTE for Verizon Wireless is $1,449. So it ain't no cheap thing.
And that's different from most Chromebooks are $1,000 cheaper.
Yeah, it's such a huge jump that kind of took people by surprise. I didn't know that they were going to go this high. I don't think any of you did either. I mean, I thought they were going to continue and just kind of increase the hardware, but huge jump. But we'll get on to why it costs that much and how you can get some bang for the buck.
So let's backtrack a little bit and talk about the initial rumors. If you remember, Android Authority covered the rumor a few weeks back whenever a video showed up on YouTube and then was mysteriously taken down. Well, we and a bunch of other people stole it before it was, nothing disappears on the internet, right? So we were able to capture it before it was taken down, and then we had some things posted on Google Plus saying, hey, sorry, we were hacked by a company nobody really ever heard of. And then we had a Vincent Koch, I believe his name is, come out of the woodwork saying, hey, my company Slinky.me was hacked, we were working on this video, and everybody says, no, this is real. No, this isn't real. There's a lot of people looking at it saying, you know what, if you look at the company, you look at the guy, you look at their profile, that this company didn't do this thing's fake, the product isn't real, and many major tech blogs debunked it, and then many major tech blogs, such as ourselves, we backed it. We said, yeah, it's real, and here's the fact. We started going over fact over fact, and then, lo and behold, today, we find out it's real. And our own Nate Swanner, he actually interviewed the guy that's kind of infamous for leaking the Chromebook Pixel before and after it was officially announced. Nate, do you want to talk about that before we get into the specs here?
In doing research for our initial stories, I reached out to him. I didn't get an answer. We ran a story which was just kind of a, is it real? Is he real? What's going on? This guy's really, there's not a lot of information about him, especially for a guy who's, supposed to be an ex-Googler and all that kind of stuff. There was just no information readily available about him. So I wrote the story. He reached out afterwards. We got to talking, and he never really confirmed or denied it, that was the Chromebook Pixel, that was the actual product that he, a physical product he had seen. So he was really evasive still. And then today happened, and then he wrote me on Google Talk with a kind of, haha, told you so. So we got to talking a little bit. He's in Japan now. He was in China trying to solve his hacker issue. He, just kind of wanted to touch base and say hi, and I told you so. And he kind of hinted at a few more surprises for I/O. We talked about that because obviously, if the Chromebook's out now, it may not be at I/O like we thought it would. So he hinted at a few more surprises. Again, there's not a lot of information, but he was right about the Pixel, so it's kind of hard to doubt him.
Yeah. I'm curious to find out maybe in the next coming weeks, what other hints he's given us,
Yeah, me too. Hopefully I'll get more.
Definitely. We'll keep us posted on that, Nate. So, Scott, let's talk about some specs. Why does this thing cost $1,300 or $1,400?
12.85-inch screen. It's a 400 nit display, so the brightness is good. It has a resolution of 2560 by 1700, 239 ppi. It has Gorilla Glass multi-touch screen, 32 or 64 gigabyte storage, backlit.
So let's hold on a second. Let's talk about that screen. There's, besides Windows 8 tablets, can you name another tablet that has a touch screen on it that's popular or that is produced by a company that everybody's going to know by name?
No.
There's nothing major out there. There are tablets that do exist with touch screens with Windows 8, but
you mean laptops?
Yeah, what did I say? Tablets? Yeah, laptops.
Yeah. There's plenty of tablets that are popular that people are.
Yeah, I meant laptops. Yeah, so there's nothing besides the new ones that are coming out with Windows 8 that I can name off the top of my head.
I wouldn't call those popular though.
Yeah, exactly. They're not popular. And this thing has an amazing screen. I mean, it's the highest resolution screen to date on any notebook computer. That's huge. It's
or tablet.
Or tablet.
I think.
And back on that screen, it's a little weird. It's a 3:2 aspect ratio. Google said that we kind of looked at aspect ratios of tablets, and the movie industry really pushed. I said tablets again. The movie industry really pushed notebook computers into being 16:9 or 16:10 because that's what movies are. But does it need to be widescreen like that? And Google says no, apparently. So we have a 3:2 aspect ratio Retina. I hate saying Retina, but let's say awesome display. A 3:2 awesome display tablet. Or damn it! Every time I say tablet, someone needs to create another Derek Ross meme.
No, there's been enough of those.
All right. So anyway, more hardware. So HD webcam, you were getting ready to mention, I think.
Yeah. Also a backlit Chrome keyboard. Love that. HD webcam is the 720p. It has 2 USB 2.0 ports, which I don't know why it doesn't have a 3.
Exactly. So something that costs $1,300 or $1,400, it doesn't have USB 3. That's weird. I'm sorry. That's weird.
USB 3.0.
What's that, Dan?
Does Chrome OS support USB 3.0?
I don't know, but the fact that
I'm guessing that's the hang-up.
Could be. Well, so Chrome OS needs to support it if that is the hang-up.
It's based on basically a hybrid of Ubuntu and a couple other distros. It should support it technically.
Yeah, I don't see why it wouldn't.
Either way, it doesn't support it, and that's kind of interesting.
It also has a mini display port, 2-in-1 card reader supporting SD and MMC, and it has an Intel i5 processor, dual-core 1.8 GHz. Now this
is
a big jump from what we've had in the past. So
such as the Samsung
Exynos
ARM
5.
Chromebook.
yeah, so people are gonna like this will be a whole new experience for a Chromebook because it will be like
powerhouse.
night and day with the speed. Because mine, it's cheap and I just use it for just random browsing and checking stuff. But this has a lot more juice, which will be interesting to see and figure out people's reactions to that. It has an Intel HD graphics card, 4000 series. It has 4 gigabytes of DDR3 RAM. That's a lot of RAM.
Which is more than other Chromebooks have. Double the amount of RAM that the other Chromebooks have.
Well, Chrome, the browser in general, is a RAM hog, as we know.
Yeah.
And then it has a 5-hour battery, which that's short.
That's not that bad
really.
considering look at the display, and the Samsung ARM is a 6-hour battery, I believe.
I mean, you look at the Acer, it's actually as
The
good or
Acer's a
better
2.5
than that.
or 3
You're
hour
talking about
battery.
you're pushing a lot of pixels. You're talking about a Core i5 versus Centrinos, and
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and
actually
look at
pretty good.
HP's laptop that just came out. The HP Chromebook, it only has 2.5-hour battery.
Yeah,
It has an
it's
Intel Celeron processor.
3-4 hours on those. I mean, and they don't even have anywhere near that kind of display on there.
Yeah, so
Pretty big battery, though.
I think that battery life is actually good for that device.
Oh, I agree.
I disagree, but look at how much you're paying.
Well,
It has 25% brighter than any other high-end model, 400 nits. It's a measuring of brightness. And 3:2 aspect ratio. And here's the kicker. You get 1 terabyte of Google Drive storage for 3 years. Now, take the price of the Chromebook, let's say $1,300. Google Drive storage, if you wanted to get right now, you didn't want to buy a Chrome OS notebook or whatever, it costs $50 a month, and it would cost you $1,800 over that 3 years.
You mean Google Drive? If you right now
Google Drive, yeah.
If you just right now wanted to purchase Google Drive space, it's $50 a month, and over the course of 3 years, that's $1,800. So if you need a terabyte of Google Drive space, buy a Chromebook Pixel and save $500. That right there makes it worth buying. I mean, I wanted to balk at the price, and we'll get to that in a second, but if I needed a terabyte of cloud storage to store all my movies or something, whatever I want to store, I mean, a terabyte of space is going to cost you over 3 years $1,800. I'd save $500 if I bought a Chromebook Pixel.
yep.
Now, I think you're looking at this more personal use. I don't think it's going to be a whole bunch of personal use. I think Google's targeting businesses and stuff, but we'll get to that. Yeah, so what do you guys think? Those specs, do they live up to the price? And is the kind of the carrot on top, the 1 terabyte for 3 years, worth it?
I'll go first, then we'll go down the line here, I guess, and give our first initial thoughts on this. So when I saw the initial Chromebook Pixel video, I thought, wow, this thing is awesome. If this is true, it's going to, all the pixels, all the power, the display, that this thing is going to be more expensive than a regular Chromebook. I thought to myself, the Nexus 10, a $350, $400 tablet, has a lot of pixels, more than any other tablet. Let's just double the price of that for a little bit more bang for your buck, a little bit more juice, and that's probably what it'll cost. That's what I was thinking. So I was thinking, $700, $800. I wasn't thinking 1,000, let alone 1,300. I'm not buying one because of that, because I can't afford to spend $1,300. I don't need a Chromebook. I have one. I have a Samsung ARM. For it to be an impulse buy range to me, we'd have to cut that in half. So people that are looking for new laptops, maybe. Impulse buying, I don't think so, unless you're somebody that is in this hangout that already bought one. That's just my thought. Now, in terms of hardware, that's awesome. It has a powerful processor. to me, this is competing against the MacBook Pro that's similarly priced and similarly spec'd. But a MacBook Pro that has the same hardware or similar hardware can do a lot more than a Chromebook. And maybe I'm missing the concept of a Chromebook, but initially I thought that Chromebooks were cool because they were going to be cheap and they're going to be able to, make computing easy and simple for the masses because everybody can get a cheap computer and get stuff done. So everybody can get stuff done in a really badass way now, but it's not cheap like previous Chromebooks. And it's hard for me to fathom right now because previous Chromebooks have been so cheap. So I don't know what to think about it. I'm curious, we'll talk about a little bit later, what is down the road for the next Chromebook. So Dan, what are your thoughts on the Pixel?
Hold on, before that, I just want to throw something in. Andrew Darling says that it will take all 3 years to upload stuff to that. And are you running like a 28.8K modem? What are you doing?
Yeah, it's not going to, it's not, I don't, yeah, I mean, I have pretty fast internet here through Comcast. I can, now Comcast does limit me at 250 gig a month, so it would take me 4 months to upload. But hey, after 4 months, I got it all uploaded.
You don't download anything.
And you got to download it again every time you want to use it, though.
Yeah, But once but I'm not going to stream it all over. I'm not going to stream 250 gig a month. That's a lot.
You're still on unlimited on Verizon. Just see how they like it.
Oh yeah, What if you're using Verizon?
Yeah, you transfer it via USB from your computer to your phone, and then you upload it from your phone.
Before the show, we're getting off track here, but I'm not going to continue to that.
No, we're
Before
not.
The show, Dan said he was just going to drive down to Kansas City, find a Wi-Fi hotspot, that's Google Fiber, and just upload everything right there,
Yeah, it's right on Google's backbone. It'll be fast as crap. However,
so you're going to be limited by the SSD.
That's how fast it'll upload.
All right. So anyway, what do you think about the Pixel, Dan?
Yeah, I have to agree with you about the price being a little shockingly high. I mean, the specs are decent, but not quite that good. If it had 8 gigabytes of RAM and an i7, maybe $1,300, but I could get a laptop with an i7 processor and 8 gigabytes of RAM for half the price. So I don't see it as being something that I would buy. But I also think that a big part of that is that I just don't see Chrome OS as being mature enough to justify that. Then again, I think that's kind of the point.
I'm sorry, Dan. That was rude of me to laugh while you're talking. But Chris Rizzo, that's watching this show right now, he
memed you already.
He decided to make that into a meme, as I was jokingly saying. So if you're watching the show on YouTube, head over to the Google Plus comments and look at the original post, and you'll see Chris Rizzo's meme he made. That made me laugh. That's good.
Yes, thank you for that.
Yeah.
All right, so John, what do you think about the Pixel?
Price-wise, given that they've really pushed OEMs, with everything else, I honestly think if they had put it in the $800 to $900 price range, I think that was achievable.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that's really lacking with a lot of Windows laptops still is, and they're getting better since the Ultrabook push, but there's really not a really well built and really well done all the way through laptop, existing for Windows. Most of them are still 1366 by 768 crap resolution. Keyboards are, decent but not great. The trackpads are kind of crappy too. There's a market for a really well built computer. I look at a MacBook Pro, and I hate Mac OS X with a passion. I could never use Mac OS X.
Their hardware.
Software would keep me away from it, but I like the way that their laptops are built.
And you know what? You have something there, John, because I know a lot of people that buy a MacBook Pro just because the hardware is awesome, and then they put Boot Camp on it and run Windows, or just boot camp in Ubuntu, or just blow away and do straight Ubuntu.
That's the first thing that came to mind when I saw this, was that the specs are reasonably fast. It would be a pretty good device to dual boot with Ubuntu on it. Actually, it would make a pretty decent little thing to boot into Linux whenever you would need to. And I'm not so sure that maybe for the time being, until Chrome OS gets stronger, that Google should make an easier way to do that. If they're going to get into the high end, because if I pay over $1,000 for a computer, I expect that computer to be able to do all of my computing needs, not just a supplementary device to something where I'd still have to have a desktop on occasion to do some work.
So here, think about this. Let's say Google wants you to keep this device for 3 years because they're giving you a terabyte of storage for 3 years. So think of where, I know you're not supposed to buy something in hopes that it gets more awesome, but think of what's going to happen over the next couple of years,
It's really good. And then hardware, 3-year-old hardware is not ancient like it used to be either. You have a 5-year-old computer now, it's still usable.
All right, so Wookie, moving on here, what do you think about the Pixel? What are your initial thoughts?
I'm basically going to echo what John said. I think it's a cool piece of hardware. I don't know. I haven't really used Chrome OS, so I don't know about that. But the hardware itself is cool, but at the same time, I'm using a laptop with better specs right now, and the only thing it doesn't have is an SSD and an aluminum body. But it's got more RAM, it's got higher processing power, and that cost me about $600. So...
Okay.
Looking at it pure specs-wise, it's a really cool... don't get me wrong, I've been drooling over it all day. And I really like that light bar. It's just cool. But I'm not going to buy one. I'm going to wait and see what happens down the road. That's the long
Okay.
shot.
So moving on to the man that actually bought one already. Nate, obviously you love it. You bought it.
Yeah, I started sweating as soon as I saw the thing. The difference is I live in Chrome. I do 99% of what I do in Chrome, so that works for me. I am in the model for a premium laptop because I'm tired of, as John said, really poorly built Windows 8 laptops, and I also really hate Windows 8. And like John, I can't touch Mac stuff. I can't touch their software. I just can't stand it. Like you said about buying every 3 years, I think that's what they're going at with the storage. They keep you tied into that storage, and you're going to buy a device every 3 years to keep that storage happening. So that's where I'm at, and that's why I bought one.
Good. And last but not least, Mr. Anderson, anything to add to this?
Yeah, hardware's great. I don't think they're going to sell a whole bunch. But this is the progression of Chrome, and they might just be kind of overshooting as opposed to just incrementally upgrading, and then they'll find like a middle. They might.
So where does this leave the previous rumors of, we talked about a possible Tegra 4 Chromebooks. There were some hints at some Tegra 4 testing being done. There was talk of a new Puppy device because the Chromebook Pixel is most likely the Link device that we've heard about. So what's Puppy? Is there still Puppy? What does that mean?
Well, if this is a big dog, then yeah, there's going to be a puppy down the road.
Yeah, there's been these sort of two different code names circulating, Link and Puppy. And so the Link had been rumored to have a 4 million pixel touchscreen display and an Ivy Bridge processor, which obviously the Pixel has. So it's pretty obvious that that's the Link. And then there's this other Puppy device, is the board name, that has references to Tegra 4 code. So apparently there's another Chromebook device floating out there, potentially with a Tegra 4 processor. So I definitely see, if they're going to come out with a high-quality device at a very high price like this, coming out with another high-quality ARM-based device at a lower price point, a la Windows RT versus Surface Pro.
Maybe we'll see it announced at I/O. Maybe that's when the Tegra 4 Chromebook, the Puppy, will come out, and maybe that'll be my $700-800 high-end Chromebook that I wanted with this awesome display.
I could see
I'm
that.
suspicious about it coming out at I/O just because I know that Tegra 4 is probably not going to be ready by then.
But I could see that as a good consolation, kind of a medium ground.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to I hate pushing news back from beginning of the week, and since this is a weekly show, not just a daily recap, but today was a big day. So let's talk about Ubuntu Touch. Yeah. So let's talk about the HTC One. That's mean. That's okay. So if you haven't tried Ubuntu Touch yet, it's cool, but think of it as what happens in the Android world when a new device, a new Android ROM gets ported to a new device. The very first day that it boots up, and for a couple weeks sometimes, half the hardware doesn't work. It's slow, but it's an alpha. It's the first build. It's like, oh, we have Wi-Fi working, but you can't see the camera yet, or we don't have Wi-Fi, but we have audio, or and that's really what this is. This is your alpha build of an Android ROM that somebody just got CM working on it unofficially or something like that. That's really what this is, because it's slow, it stutters. On the Nexus 7, there's no audio, there's no camera. I put it on today at lunchtime thinking that this was going to be so awesome, and I was very, very excited. And then that excitement turned to frustration after I couldn't connect to my office's enterprise Wi-Fi because I found out enterprise Wi-Fi was not supported. So I played with it as, doing nothing, opened up the camera. Oh, wait, camera doesn't work on the Nexus 7. So I came home, hooked up to my personal Wi-Fi here at my house, and I played around with some of the apps, which are just web apps, which is fine. But like I said, it's a preview developer build. It's exactly what it is. It's nothing more. It's not for a consumer. It's for somebody to develop on, or it's for the enthusiast to install it, look at it, and then say, okay, cool. All right, I'll check back in another month. I'll check back when preview release 2 is out, or the first big bug fix is out. So if you're looking to install it and you haven't yet, there's two methods to do so. The official method from the Ubuntu.com wiki, you need to have an Ubuntu flavored OS like Mint or Ubuntu, and you need to run some terminal commands. And basically, it's leaving Windows users, the mass people that have computers, unable to install it from a computer, and that's fine. You actually don't need a computer. I didn't install it over a computer. I didn't use the official method. I downloaded the zip files, which we'll post those in a link here in a little bit. And I downloaded the zip files, and I actually made a tutorial today. So if you saw my post on Google+, you know what I'm talking about. You download your board file for your specific device, your specific Nexus device, which is the GSM Galaxy Nexus, the Nexus 7, Nexus 10, or the Nexus 4. You download that specific board device, and then you download or board zip file, and then you download the actual ROM, which is like a 500 meg zip file, and you flash both of those in Twerp or Clockwork Mod, and you boot up, and there you go. It doesn't touch your SD card. So if you had an Android on there, which you should always do an Android when you're going to do something crazy like this, you can restore your Android and be good to go. Or flash your factory images and keep your SD card intact if you don't flash the user data. So there's a lot of things you can do to test it out, and I like the method that we're used to. We're used to downloading and flashing, a couple zip files. So I did that, and it was really easy. But
did you wipe your Dalvik cache before you flashed? That might have been why you had problems.
You have to wipe it twice.
You gotta wipe it twice. Yeah, and I actually wiped battery stats because I heard you're supposed to do that.
Did you wipe your?
Don't forget the rotation stats.
Yeah, well, actually, you know what? Maybe that's why rotation didn't work on the Nexus 7. But no, we're actually joking. You don't need to do any of that.
One quick thing about I like the multitasking features. There's an app called Glovebox. Go pick it up if you want to kind of test out their type of multitasking. It's pretty cool.
So if you tried Ubuntu on a Nexus device, let us know in the comments what you thought about it, your initial impressions, what you would like to see come to Android from that, what you would like to see improved upon. I mean, it's a developer build. Chances are they're going to still add some things. All I can say is a lot of the features they showed and hyped up on those videos, yeah, you can't do a lot of that yet. You can do some of it. Don't get me wrong. You can do some, but it doesn't.
In your mind.
It doesn't function the same way. So, did any of you guys here test it out at all yet?
I don't have anything to flash it on.
What about your Nexus?
I guess I could try it on my notes.
All right. So this week, something big that happened that didn't happen today. we're going to talk about the HTC One, and Android Authority was there at the event. My boy Wookie, he was there. He covered the event for us, and he got to play with the device, do some comparisons, some verses, and so Wookie, why don't you tell us, how awesome is the device? Tell us about Sense. Tell us about these new features, the hardware. How's it feel? I mean, is this a device that we want? Have at it.
Well, the thing is, and Nate and Derek, you would know this from a private kind of conversation that happened between Android Authority people that there was a conversation about how specs are starting to become a little bit more irrelevant now that things are getting to a point where stuff just works. And in that respect, I think the One could do well because it basically, in a lot of ways, it's kind of a DNA with an aluminum body and a whole lot more features. The specs are bumped up a little bit, but not all that much. But I've got to say, I would, if it was on Verizon and I could go back in time and have a One instead of a DNA, I would have a One. It's pretty cool. Sense 5, well...
what the heck?
It's hard to...
It's
there are things that I like. Like, I like the fact that it's a bit more minimalist in its display, but blink feed, not a fan.
You mean Windows tiles? You mean Windows 8?
Yes, exactly.
No. You mean Flipboard UI.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
Exactly.
And that's literally what it is.
So what do? They form partnerships with ESPN, MTV, Associated Press to bring news feeds right to this app, this widget or something called Blink Feed. And isn't Sense 5 really it's centered all around Blink Feed for social as well? Like everything just comes in there. Like it really reminds me of Windows tiles or Flipboard.
Keep in mind that I was actually, before I say this, I'm actually kind of a fan of what I've seen of the HTC One so far. But Blink Feed seems like they tried to find the most efficient way to pull things I really don't care about into one spot.
That's a very good description.
Wow. But you are a fan of Sense, though, so it's coming from somebody that likes Sense.
Yes, the one guy who actually likes Sense.
I was going to say.
Now, it does have a 1080p screen, 468 PPI, which is higher than...
Yeah, at 4.7 inches. It's one of the smaller of these big...
Yeah, exactly. That's actually higher than the DNA because it's 0.3 of an inch smaller. So, yeah. And now, the nice thing about this is we're going to talk about processors in a little bit with Dan, but it has one of those brand spanking new Snapdragon 600 processors. So it's smoking fast.
It looked really fast from the videos.
The software was a lot lighter, too, so that it seemed lighter, faster. So that,
when you're running Flipboard and just
except for the Flipboard image loading, it looks a little bit more lightweight than Sense.
So, Wookie, did you get to play around with the sound at all? Like boom sound is the new buzzword. HTC said they were going to wow us with audio, which, in my best understanding, is boom sound is Beats audio plus front speakers.
Yes, it's exactly that. So... Not all that much to be excited about. I mean, like, really, if you're an audiophile, Beats audio is, Beats is probably going to piss you off a little bit because it really messes with your sound. And front speakers, that's cool, but, the guy from HTC, I can't remember which one it was, and I'm sorry for dropping the ball on that, but he opened his talk at the event talking about how sound on phones is generally bad, and that's really true. Putting the speakers in the front doesn't do a whole lot to help that.
No.
It just makes them sound louder and bad.
Yes, it's more loud bad, and
it makes you not have to cook your hand.
It means more low mid-range bad instead of high mid-range bad. So
let's talk about Zoe, and and not some like hot chick or anything like. HTC's new software for video and picture and all sorts of stuff. This is their new revolutionary thing that they're going to impress us with the camera. HTC Zoe or Zoe.
Yeah, Zoe, I would say, is probably the killer app of the one, actually. Getting to see that in action, there are some very cool things about it. The first and most important thing, I think, is actually the fact that once you open up the camera, it starts running a kind of constant buffer. So that when you hit the shutter button, it captures 4 seconds in front of video in addition to a picture, but also a second before you hit that shutter button to make sure that if you hit it a little bit too late, you might catch something you would have missed otherwise.
Nice.
And that, I think, is very cool. That's something I think everybody should start ripping off immediately.
Now,
Because-
I don't like my battery draining. I got pretty quick reflexes when something happens, so I don't know if I need it.
Well, I mean, it only happens, as far as I know, when the camera app is actually open and working.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, that can definitely be a battery drain. But at the same time, if you're me, I always capture pictures a second too late. So
Me too.
I think that's very, very cool.
Plus, they're also packing only a 4-megapixel camera sensor. I mean, it's
But they're
this
ultra
ultra
They're
pixel.
not
But
calling it
at
megapixel.
only 4 megapixels, that's a lot less data to process.
Yeah.
The act of taking a picture will not consume as much battery as taking an 8 or 13 megapixel picture, just because there's literally millions fewer pixels to process.
So they technically speaking, it should take a better picture because they're processing a lot less in a lot less time frame, a lot less data in a lot less time frame.
Well, the processing speed isn't really going to affect the quality of the image. What's supposed to affect the quality of the image here is the way they're sort of setting up the camera sensor. By having fewer total pixels, megapixels in the camera, they're able to spread them out more. So theoretically, each one's going to capture more light and therefore more information, even though it's less overall number of pixels. The quality should be a lot better, and so they're able to get a lot better low light and sort of natural light conditions pictures. Whereas, lots of cameras do great in bright light settings, but most of life is not in bright light settings.
Now, speaking
That's
of
a really
the
bold-
pixels, didn't somebody from Nokia have to say something about these ultra pixels?
Yeah, one of the PureView developers apparently trashed it and was basically saying, no, that's all a load of crap.
And if you remember, PureView is probably one of the top mobile cameras there
Yeah.
are. It's amazing. It's actually the one thing that Windows Phone can do.
Yeah.
No,
It
that
does
big
pretty
ridiculous
well.
one was running Symbian.
Oh.
The one with like the 45 megapixel camera, yeah, that was running Symbian. Not Windows
That's
Phone.
true. Now if they just take that camera and put the hardware on Android, and they'd actually have a phone that sells.
Yeah.
So, Wookie, anything else about the one that jumped out at you, hardware or software-wise?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just, it's an easy thing to understate, but really, it just felt nice. Something about that being a third of an inch smaller, screen-wise than the Droid DNA. It felt a lot easier to use one-handed. I really like the aluminum body. I mean, it makes it a little bit heavier, but it's just a nice, solid feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
HTC does make nice devices. They do generally feel solid.
Compared to the DNA, is it a fingerprint magnet?
No, I mean the DNA is a massive fingerprint magnet.
Okay.
So
good to know.
the HTC the one, I feel I have to say HTC before one because it just feels so weird calling something a one. But anyway, I didn't notice that. I mean the screen obviously, but any screen is going to be a fingerprint magnet. But the back of the device, after it ended like crazy, it wasn't that fingerprinted up at all.
You were at CES when they were passing around the Xperia Z, so you've seen Sony's flagship for the first of the year at HTCs. Which one do you think is the front runner right now?
The Z.
Really?
That's just I think. Well, I mean, personally, I like the one better. But if you're asking which I think is going to do better, I think the Xperia Z has a lot more hype behind it, and for good reason. I mean, it's a great device. There's one more thing I want to say before we get done with this segment, and this actually has nothing to do with the One. But I did get to talk to somebody about whether they were thinking about porting Sense 5 to existing devices, and apparently HTC is investigating that. So for looking at bringing it back to devices like, say, for example, the One X Plus or the DNA, they just want to make sure that it will work well. So it's something they're looking into. They're not making any promises that it's going to happen, but it's nice to know they're at least thinking about it.
And you know what? Thank God for talented Android developers that'll do it before they officially do anyways.
Yeah, you got to. I mean, it's
I'm
not
sorry,
like,
but that's
like the DNA's crap hardware or something. You write a piece of software and it can't run on a phone that's 6 months old. I mean, you have to investigate that. It's just whether they have much of a lazy ass that you don't want to support it or not.
All right, so let's get to the fun part of the show that people are watching live for, that are listening for on SoundCloud or Stitcher Radio or Podbean or wherever the heck you're listening to us right now from, or watching on YouTube. As I said at the beginning of the show, this is our 1 year anniversary. We've been doing this for a year now, and we partnered with Cruiser Lite to give you $15 gift cards. We have 10 of them to give away. All you need to do is go to this URL and fill out the general Rafflecopter things. You click a button here to follow on Facebook or like on Facebook. Click a button here to do Twitter stuff. You can click a button here. You circle here on Google+. The general stuff like that. Each time you do that, and we will check to verify that they're done, you get an entry point for winning a gift card. And then Sunday night, 8 p.m. comes around, I will hit the button, the Rafflecopter will do its thing, and we'll have 10 winners of $15 gift cards from Cruiser Lite. So what I want you to do is go, it's a bit.ly address, which is bit.ly. So go to bit.ly /AA on air contest, all one word. One more time, for those of you that didn't understand what I meant, it is bit.ly /AA ONAIR CONTEST, AA on air contest. Go there, follow, like, circle, all that stuff, and you'll be entered into the contest. It said we're not going to post this contest on our website for people that don't watch the show to enter. This is strictly for people that listen and watch live or the recorded shows. So congratulations to you guys early, to the winners, and we will announce them here in a few days.
And thank you for watching us live and contributing in the comments. I love a good discussion, and I know the people here in this hangout do as well. Thank you.
Yeah. Like Scott said, when you guys actually comment on posts or make memes of us saying dumb things,
don't make memes. Don't make memes.
Yes, meme all the things, awesome. Meme everything.
Yeah, we love that.
There's a question from one of those viewers. Is this Cruiser Lite giveaway open worldwide, or is this US only?
Cruiser Lite ships everywhere, but I didn't know this. I want to say I'm going to have to check their Amazon store, but I believe they ship everywhere but China. Does that sound right?
Could be.
I will double check on that. I did have the details. I don't have them right in front of me, and I don't want to say something incorrect.
So it's available wherever Cruiser Lite will ship to.
Yeah, there you go. There's the short answer. Wherever Cruiser Lite ships to, this goes. But I'll get the exact answer when I announce the contest here in a little bit. Again, sorry about that.
The URL doesn't work. Somebody said.
I guarantee it works. So
post in the comments?
No, you're not posting in the comments. So I just clicked on it again and it works. So once again, for those of you that can't figure it out, BIT, okay, bit.ly, bit.ly. You've all seen these short links before. So it's bit.ly /AA as an Android Authority, ONAIR as an Android Authority on air, contest. AA on air contest. I guarantee it works. If you can't get it to work, I don't
say
know.
mean things. Don't say mean things.
Say mean things. Like, So I'm not posting it in the comments because then somebody just reading comments could win, and I don't want to do that to you guys, our loyal fans, our loyal listeners and watchers. I don't want to do that. I want to make sure that you guys have a chance to win. So keep trying, keep typing it in. I don't know how else to say it. AA on air contest. All right,
I just checked and it does work for me.
And Wookie, if it works for Wookie, trust me, if he can figure it out, I mean,
don't be
I
mean.
love that guy.
Don't be mean.
I love you, Wookie.
I can barely tie my shoes. It's true.
All right, so let's talk about some previous news that's been going on for the past week or so. Everybody loves Dash Clock. Dash Clock, the widget that works for Android 4.2. That's a lock screen widget as well as a home screen widget, and it keeps growing in popularity. We keep getting more and more extensions for it. More apps are being updated to support the extensions, and it's awesome. So just real quick, those of you that haven't tried it yet, you should try it if you have Android 4.2, which basically is a custom ROM or a Nexus device at this point.
Not on Verizon.
Custom ROM. So there's a battery extension. There's Facebook, Plume, which is Twitter. There's Falcon Pro, which does Twitter. I actually don't use Twitter, but from what I've seen and friends that are using it, they love it. I don't use WhatsApp either, but a lot of people do. WhatsApp has an extension for it. AnyDo, a lot of people, that actually just came out the other day. A lot of people are using AnyDo. And a neat extension is a contact dialer, so you can put like your significant other or your parents or somebody you call your buddy, somebody you call all the time, and you tap the button and you can call them right from the lock screen. I don't know if you want to do that all the time, because it's kind of like less secure, but oh well. Yeah, if you want to do it, you can do it. And Press, the newsreader, is there. And there's also an app launcher. So let's say you want to put an app to launch Chrome or to launch voicemail, right on the right from the home screen or right from the lock screen. You can do that, as well as create your own. There's an app called Custom what's it called? Dash Clock Custom Extension. So you can go in there and create pretty much anything you want and assign any action to it. So there's just search the Google Play Store, or if you have the latest version of Dash Clock, you can actually click the About or drop-down menu, and it'll take you to the searching the Play Store for more extensions. And the more extensions you have, the better it gets.
Still talking about apps. Chrome Beta got updated today. It's a little bit faster. It is heading in the right direction. Also, YouTube during the show did get updated as well. You can control your pairing of the TV from the notification bar. Kind of cool stuff.
Definitely. So, Dan, I heard some new processors.
Yeah, there's been a lot of processor and radio news, or baseband news this week, actually. Qualcomm had previously announced the Snapdragon 2 and 400, and they actually detailed them this week. And I've also brought together the details of the 6 and 800, as well as their newly announced RF360, the one radio to rule them all, really. And we're going to look at these and then compare them with some of the new announcements from NVIDIA with their Tegra 4 that's obviously already been announced, and then the new Tegra 4i, the lower power, hopefully less expensive version that they have an integrated radio with. So getting started with Qualcomm, we've got the 2 and 400, which are their low-end entries. The 200 is actually not even a Qualcomm-designed chip. It's a ARM Cortex A5 quad-core CPU at 1.4 gigahertz with an Adreno 203 GPU. So that's an old GPU and a low-power, not very strong processor. So that's definitely low end. But it is on 28 nanometers, and it does support 1080p playback. So it's for low-end devices, but it's still able to deliver a decent amount of performance. And then stepping up to the next level, we've got the 400, which comes in two configurations. Either a dual-core crate, presumably version 200, which is the same that's in the S4 and 4 Pro, but that's not really certain. Dual-core crate at 1.7 gigahertz, or quad-core A7 at 1.4 gigahertz. So the A7 is, for example, what's the little in the big little octa-core configuration.
The puppy.
So it's less powerful than A9, but not a lot, and with 4 of them, that can deliver a decent amount of power. And that's paired with the Adreno 305, which again is in the S4. Yeah, not the Pro, the S4. Again, 1080 playback, 13 plus megapixel camera support. Both of these are expected to be released this year, according to Qualcomm, probably in Q4, so pretty late this year. Stepping that up, the 600 is actually the chip that's in the HTC One and the Optimus G Pro. That's a 1.7 or 1.9 gigahertz quad-core Crate 300 processor with an Adreno 320 GPU. Basically, it's an S4 Pro with some extra bonuses added in. It is faster. It's about 40% faster than the non-Pro S4, the dual-core one. And then the 800, or wait, that one's supposed to be released, according to Qualcomm, in Q2 of this device. Obviously, it's already announced in a couple of devices that are supposed to hit on those timetables. And then the 800 is coming in Q3. And again, that'll be in devices in Q3. That'll be a quad-core Crate 400 at 2.3 gigahertz with the next generation Adreno 330 GPU, which is supposed to be 2 times faster than the 320. That'll support 4K displays. That's 4096 by 2304 pixels, or what they're now calling Ultra HD, as well as 55 megapixel camera support, and Quick Charge 2.0, which is supposed to be 75% faster than normal charging, Snapdragon's voice activation, which is basically an always listening to you whisper level, like voice commands for your phone. All told, 75% faster than the current S4 Pro. That's the Nexus 4, the DNA. That's coming out in just a few months.
I'm excited for the Quick Charge 2.0.
Definitely.
And also the what was it? The voice activation. If they can do it without the battery loss, I think that'd be kind of cool. If you could use Google Now from a table, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the point of it, is that it's supposed to be super low power, always listening. So yeah, I mean, that chip just looks incredible.
So what's this diamond in the rough chip?
Yeah, so this RF360 is a new, fully integrated sort of shell for the rest of the baseband. So really the baseband is broken up into a lot of little pieces that all come together. And this is a package of a bunch of those pieces. So it's going to support 40 different cellular bands across the world. Qualcomm's announcement was somewhat ambiguous as to whether or not it meant 40 total or just 40 LTE bands. But regardless, it will support every single network that is currently in use on the planet and every single network that is currently planned to be in use on the planet.
Wow.
One chip supports all of it. The world's first modem-assisted antenna, which will dynamically attune the antenna based on things like how are you holding the phone. We're going to optimize the tuning of the antenna to avoid your hand. Based on things like what frequencies are you trying to connect to. We're going to tune to the best frequency in the spectrum band to get the best possible connection. The world's first modem-assisted power tracking, which basically is a way that it's going to track power across all of these various elements and use all of that tracking to cut down on power consumption, affecting a 30% lower power consumption compared to the current already industry-leading power low consuming radios from Qualcomm. It's also the world's first multi-band integrated power amplifier and antenna switch. So it's built in the amplifiers for the antennas and the switches to jump from 2G to 3G to 4G, all built in on the same piece of hardware. It's also the world's first 3D RF package chip. So it's not just a wafer, that takes up square footage of your device. It's a full-on cube. And it's probably not cubic, but it's stacking it. So it's layering the individual pieces on top of each other to conserve more space. And this is paired with a next-generation transceiver that's also supposed to reduce power consumption by another 20%, supporting all the regular suspects, GPS, glossless, be new, which I don't really know what it is, plus Wi-Fi 802.11 or 802.11 AC. That's the 1 gigabit Wi-Fi standard. Plus, the usual Bluetooth, etc. That's supposed to get released also in Q3, suspiciously similar to the release timetable for the 800. My guess is it will be integrated into the 800.
So devices that come with this, the 800 and this new LTE radio, are going to be like the God chip. I mean,
2013 is going to be a great year for mobile technology.
So Dan, I have a question just as we're on that subject. 2013 is supposed to be the year that Verizon completes their LTE network. They're supposed to do that actually sometime this summer, and then 2014 begin rolling out, besides just field trials, of voice over LTE.
Yep.
What will this processor do for that?
Well, all of this, I didn't mention it, but this also has full support for LTE, voice over LTE. It also has support for LTE Advanced and carrier aggregation. So what that allows carriers to do with LTE Advanced is sort of share pieces of spectrum. So if you have 10 megahertz block out of the AWS spectrum, and I have the next 10 megahertz, and then you have the next 10 after that, you can stack them together to sort of create a better connection out of it. So this has full support for all of that. Unfortunately, the only 2 networks that I know that use that right now are one that was set up for testing in Moscow and one that T-Mobile USA has not yet turned on.
Now, does stacking that just basically make a bigger pipe so you can put? Okay.
Yeah, it gives you a wider channel through which you can run all the connections, and obviously that means you can run higher speeds, more people, more bandwidth. You
got people going through, you're going to get more information, they're going to get what they want quicker. Okay.
Yep, just like more lanes on a highway.
Yep.
It's basically spillover for when you run out of...
Exactly. I mean, one of the problems the carriers face is
even Verizon's buying it up.
Yep.
Verizon's buying AWS spectrum.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile all have plans to, or already have, LTE on AWS. So, and most of the LTE Canadian networks are on AWS as well. So,
all right, so
and again, this chip is really going to make interoperability kind of irrelevant.
Yeah, there's no excuse not to be able to have a complete global launch on a device.
On every device you ever make. Yep.
So whenever the Galaxy S4 comes out, which is rumored to be on a Qualcomm processor, that if let's say that rumor is true, let's say it's not using the Octa because that is rumored to be too hot.
Yep. It won't have this. It won't have this radio.
Okay.
Yeah, this is coming out later in the year.
Yeah. It's going to come out in Q3. I'm assuming that Samsung's going to put out the S4 in Q2.
So the Note 3.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, really, any device that any company ever releases after Q3 of 2013, if it doesn't work,
and the next Nexus,
it's their own
and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I mean that's huge. Supporting every network on the planet at the same time is just ridiculous. In other processor news, though, NVIDIA has been talking up their own radio technology lately. Obviously, they had announced the Tegra 4 processor, which we know is a 4+1 with Cortex A15 cores running at I think it's 1.9 gigahertz, but somebody needs to check me on that one, with a 72-core GPU, all on 28 nanometers, supporting displays up to 3200 by 2000. Really, it's their top-end processor, obviously. They just recently announced, though, their Project Gray, which is another Tegra 4i, which really is somewhat misleading because it's more or less a shrunken and overclocked Tegra 3 processor with a built-in radio. It's the same 4+1 arrangement that we're familiar with, which is kind of annoying because really in NVIDIA's case it's 1 + 2 + 2, where you have your one companion core that runs everything, and then 2 cores that will come online, and then when you need more than that, another 2 cores that will come online. You can't just get one of those at a time. It's 2 and 2, or 4, but not one at a time. This one's down to only a 60-core GPU, same 28-nanometer process. Really, the thing that NVIDIA is pushing with this is that it's only 60 millimeters squared. So it's a very tiny chip. They were bragging about it being substantially smaller than similar offerings from Qualcomm. Granted, they said that before Qualcomm made their 200 and 400 Snapdragon announcements just recently, so I don't really know what comparable chip they were talking about, because nothing else is comparable in terms of performance for what they're putting out with this. The real news there is the Icera i500 baseband, though. And it's going to support LTE, Cat3, and Cat4 with carrier aggregation on TDD and FDD standards. There's a big, huge caveat to that, though. The LTE advanced support, that's the Cat4 with carrier aggregation, is going to come with a later software update. Not actually ready yet. In NVIDIA's defense, though, there's only 2 networks on the planet that use that, and neither of them are public. So not really a big deal at the moment. It'll also support GSM and Edge, HSPA Plus 42, TD-SCDMA, which is the networking technology they use in most of China, but not CDMA. So no Verizon and no Sprint for the Tegra 4i. It is also a software programmable modem, so you can actually, similar to Qualcomm's sort of universal radio that they just announced, you can bring differently tuned antennas to it and then just reprogram the modem. So it's less hardware that that OEMs have to buy, but it's still not one universal solution like what Qualcomm's offering. The big disappointing news out of this, though, is the expected release date. NVIDIA expects to release it to OEMs, sampling it, by the end of 2013. That means it's not going to be in any devices until Q1 2014.
That's harsh.
Well, that's a year from now.
Yeah. Yes, that is literally a year from now. Whereas not even 6 months from now, Qualcomm's going to have a radio that does everything paired with, this ridiculously powerful processor. And NVIDIA is going to be putting out a Cortex A9 quad-core.
This thing's behind in specs now.
Yeah, this thing is I don't know that it's necessarily...
it's pretty decent now, but by then
it's mediocre right now. A year from now,
I think it's going to be like...
And also, let's keep in mind, this chip was more or less promised as mid-year 2012.
All right, so, Dan, I think I understand which one you're going to choose, but just in case I've had a brain malfunction, between the new Tegras and the new Snapdragons, your money goes to...
Qualcomm.
Definitely
Qualcomm. I mean, looking at the stuff that NVIDIA is announcing, and especially with it being so obviously side by side, when it was like 2 days later that Qualcomm came back with the Snapdragon 2 and 400 announcement, and then this RF360, it just makes NVIDIA look laughably far behind.
Okay. All right, well, before we wrap up here, those of you that missed the segment earlier or that are just watching random parts of the show or listening to random parts of the show, shame on you. You should be listening to the whole show.
Be nice.
So giveaway, Cruiser Light. Thank you very much, Cruiser Light. We're giving away 10 different $15 gift cards, which you can use to buy various Cruiser Light cases and other goodies.
I personally just ordered 3 Cruiser Light cases.
The URL to enter the contest, the Rafflecopter, where you circle plus things, you follow things, you like things, the standard Rafflecopter stuff. You go to bit.ly/AAONAIRCONTEST. That is bit.ly/AA on air contest. Do all the things, and you get a few entries, and we'll let you know Sunday night at 8 p.m. after the drawing.
Cool.
Once again, this is our 1-year show, so we've been doing this for a long time. We've had a lot of guests on the show. We started out a year ago, as I said, reviewing Mobile World Congress when Hangouts on Air were in beta. Nobody was actually doing on-air shows about Android on Google+. Scott and I were actually the first people to, if we can say pioneer that, because nobody else was doing it yet on Google+. Sure, we'll say that. We pioneered it. We were the first people to do it, and we loved it. It was a hell of a lot of fun. Obviously, we've been doing it for a year now. In that year, we've had a lot of cool stuff on the show. We've had a lot of developers. We've had Francisco Franco from Franco Kernel on the show. We've had the whole entire MIUI.US team on the show various times, various developers from that team a couple of different times on here talking about different projects they're working on in the ROM itself or developing. We've had Dan on the show actually talking about Team at Kernel a year ago when he was a kernel dev. What's that?
More actively developing.
When he was more actively developing. I pick on Dan all the time. He's a hell of a kernel developer. He knows his stuff. If he wasn't a good friend, I wouldn't pick on him as much. So he knows I'm just joking.
Just to be clear, I'm running a custom-built kernel that I built myself on my Nexus 4.
So we had Dan come on and talk all about that. We actually had the guy that's behind applover.me come on the show and talk about his ventures. We had Russell Holly on the show a couple times talking about various Android awesomeness. We had Aaron from the Big Android Barbecue talking about what it means to put together the Big Android Barbecue. He was there giving us everything, all the back information of how it started and where they're at and how they got there. We had the guys behind Goo.im, formerly known as Goo Inside Me. They're an Android file host. They came on the show and told us everything about Android file hosting.
I like that show.
We've had Paranoid Android on the show. Who else have we had? Am I missing somebody? I know I have to be missing somebody. All right, so if I'm missing...
Or Chameleon Launcher.
Yeah. Oh
we
my!
Had them on,
I can't believe that. Yeah, we had we had Philip on the show from Technician, the company behind Chameleon. We actually had them on the show as an exclusive, talking about the new launcher. And Philip's been on the show a couple times. We're going to actually have to have him on the show again to talk about the new phone launcher.
Yeah, we talked with him about that a lot back then.
Yeah, and so we've had a lot of people from the Android community on the show over the past year, the past so many months. Not so many new guests. We've been focusing on having a larger group of people here so we can talk about more topics. But we'd like to get back into having more people from the community, more people coming in and talking about their ROM or their kernel or their app or their new awesome idea. Something they do Android related that they want to come and yak about for 15 minutes or so. So if that sounds like you, drop us a line, contact me on Google+, contact Scott, let us know, and we will try to get you on the show. Francisco Franco is going to be coming on here in a few weeks, maybe sooner or later. He said sometime soon. And some other people, some big names in YouTube Android news are going to be coming on the show. So we'll keep you posted. Thanks for watching. Good luck on the contest. It's bit.ly/AA on air contest, and we'll let you know here in a few days if you won. You can find us on various places around the web, Scott. And where are they at?
As always, you can watch us on YouTube. You can listen to us after the fact on SoundCloud. Also, the Google Plus page. You can comment along as people have been doing tonight. Show your support, ask some questions, do whatever you want to do. Every once in a while, we're in an IRC. Gonna get better at that.
That's pretty much about it. Yeah, we really need to focus on the IRC channel. All right, guys. So Dan, you've been here almost the whole year. I think you were like our second guest, and you kind of just stuck around after that. So thanks for being here many times over the past year. John, you've been here a lot of the past 6 months or so. We love having you on here. Thanks for all your opinions, your comments. You're very knowledgeable about the things you know. Wookie, I love you, man. Nate,
You too.
Nate, it's good to have you here talking about things you're working on the Android Authority front. Chris, as well as Chris too. He comments about some things he's working on. And Scott, I love you, man, too. I wouldn't have been able to do this without you. A year ago, you and I. Look what we've done. We've built a hell of a following, and thank you guys for watching this, and thanks for laughing at us when we can't tell the difference between tablets and laptops, and we can't tell the difference between
a back door,
a back door, and a back order.
That is going to haunt me this next year. I'm looking forward to this upcoming year.
If you don't know what we're talking about, if you're a new watcher of the show, start searching for Nexus backdoor. Scott Anderson, he knows a lot about that.
We've come a long way, and I'm excited for the year to come.
You know, I think we're going to get better at saying goodbye throughout the next year, so we don't spend like 7-8 minutes saying goodbye. We're gonna get these closing arguments down to like a minute.
I like saying goodbye
this.
for like 7 minutes. It's always hard to say goodbye.
It is hard to say goodbye. That's like a romance novel. Maybe
Yeah.
that's what season 2 is going to be about. Season
No
2 is
romance
gonna be a
will be in
budding
season-
romance between who? Guess.
Don't say that ever again.
Oh,
All right, well, everybody, thank you for watching, and you guys have a great night.
good night.
These guys.
Thanks for the past year, guys.